Alright, so it's still choking out, going uphill. Just can't do it. As soon as I hit the gas floor, it power diminishes. It's actually less power than when I'm just barely touching the gas. It's probably, I don't know, it must be the exhaust system just isn't going to cut it. That's weird. I thought these ran on the 1800 would run on that, but knew any bigger it would be a problem. But anyway, yeah, going uphill. As soon as I step on the gas about past quarter throttle, it just stumbly. Just doesn't have enough. It's constipated, I think. So I don't know. I'll see if I can get it to run. Going downhill, it seems to be fine. On level ground, it's okay. As soon as I go uphill, where it needs more air and fuel in there, it just isn't getting it. So I guess I could take off the muffler, the end of it, and just see if it works there. If it does, then I can probably make something that was larger. And then I'm just hoping it's not going to be too loud. I don't want it to be loud at all. I want it to be sounding kind of original. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Alright, to pull the weight, you just got to pay the price. Nope, trying it without the muffler on it, tailpipe. Doesn't change it any. Right in the lower gear and see if it can't show you the speed I'm going yet. It's kind of starting to work after a while. It does. The needle, actually, the bushing for the needle is really tight. I'm trying a bunch of different things to get it to loosen up, but I haven't been able to get it to. It's starting to work a little bit, but it's not. We're going faster than that. It just starts to go up after a while. Then it stays up, and then it starts coming down. Then in the morning when it's cold, when it doesn't work, once it gets warmed up, it's fine. That drives me nuts. I wish it just worked. So don't think I don't double check and triple check stuff. But I already had checked the timing once and twice maybe. But somehow, when I checked it this time, it was at 22 degrees total advance. So that's a problem. So I got it back up to 30. I'm going to go with 30 and see if it pings or anything at that. I don't think it will. It's got low enough compression, big enough cam, probably plenty of air and fuel in there. So yeah, I don't know what happened. I checked it, and then I always double check, guys. If you ever do work on your car, don't always just think that I checked that already. Go back and double check it. It never hurts. So I double checked the timing, way off. It didn't, I mean, it was a little poppy, so I was like, let me just double check the timing, see if that's right. Then we'll go back and refigure out some other things, and let's see if it. So I put the exhaust pipe back on it, because that didn't help at all. It didn't change it at all. Nothing. So people think, oh, it makes it restricted. It didn't make any difference. So let's try it with this and see if it runs, and then we'll go back from there. All right, let's see if she goes uphill now. Probably, I mean, it didn't feel that bad for the timing being that far off. I mean, it was like 20, I don't know, it was like 22 degrees. I didn't even think it would run at that, but somehow it did. And it didn't sound, I mean, I was getting a little pop back through the carburetor. That was kind of the indicator for me. I was like, I better double check the timing. It's like this thing should, something happened. I don't know. Who knows? Definitely feels better now. It feels more like Still not a lot of top end power, but it doesn't have that. It's a single port. I think I can get out a third. Definitely gets up into higher RPM going up here. See how it is in fourth. It kind of, yeah, pulls in fourth. It's very low end torquey. It's all the power is below like 3,500 RPMs. It's really low. So it does go up in fourth now, and the speedometer is sort of doing its thing. Actually, I have to let off on the gas a little bit while I'm going up in fourth. It's doing pretty good. It would never do that before. With the 40 horse, it wouldn't go into fourth. Yeah, it definitely feels like it has a lot more torque. Way more torque than it did. It used to take everything you had just stepping on the gas to get it to move. On flat ground. See how it is at 30. At 28 probably would be safe, but the cam might really like 30. With that low compression number. If we had like 8 1/4, I might run it at 28. We're at 7.9. Whoa, first gear actually, oh wow, I can feel the cam in first. Picks up, it was like, bump. Wow. So third gear, this is a steep hill for this monster. So that's floored. Let's let off the gas a little bit, see if it's any better. No, it's still, it doesn't feel like it did before. Before, when I let the gas harder, it felt like the ignition wasn't doing its thing. Now I might try a bigger main jet. It's not terribly lean at 125. I don't think. Get out, smell the exhaust, see if it smells like hydrocarbons, and then I'll tell you it's really lean. That's for sure. Start smelling that stinky smell. Definitely climbed hills better than it did. It didn't go uphill at all. Let's see how it is on the freeway, but yeah, it was working for a minute. Now it's not. The speedometer is still. See how you stopped and it's still coming down slowly. That's the way it is. Yeah, it definitely has a lot more power than it did. Feels like at higher speeds it would be really nice on the freeway. You know, just barely touching the gas type of thing, and just keep it running down the road. I still don't think it would do much more than about 90 kilometers, 100 maybe. It'll probably do 100. But I don't think I'll run it there. Probably about 90, 95. Definitely pulls the weight nice. Pulls the weight really nice. Really torquey. It's perfect. Right. Kind of be a little freaked out at the beginning. We'll tell you on the freeway here in a minute. Just kind of figure out what's going on with that. Maybe I'll put some fuel in it, fill it up, and I think it's probably, my guess is, wiggle the fuses. And I've already wiggled around some wires behind here and it didn't help. So anyway, speed bumps. Okay. All right, I'll bring you guys back in. Well, anyway, guys, I'll tell you, definitely a lot more fun to drive now. It's just all on the bottom. The power, the most horsepower, or I mean, it starts to kind of taper off at about 3,500, 3,800 RPMs. That's about it. So it's really on the bottom, all the power is. So it's really nice. You actually just barely touch the gas, and you can use the torque to get you around, which is really what you want for something like this, real heavy. So it's nice with that timing where it's at 30. So I don't know, I gotta drive for a while. I really need to check head temp on that because I really don't want it to ping. I don't think it will, not at that. 32, I don't think I'd try it. I think it's just too much risk. But 28's a safe number always. But with premium fuel and what's in it, low 7.9% to 1. I just gotta figure out the gas gauge situation. Maybe put some gas in it. Then we'll take it on the road. But man, it seems like a totally different vehicle right now. And it's just way easier. I mean, it's still heavy, real heavy feeling, but you don't have to, like before, I want to say, you didn't have to really floor it all the time, but you had to put on the gas pretty hard, to get it to move, and then you could use the torque. The torque was really good on the other engine for a little 40 horse. But this one's a lot more torque than the other one. Just a huge difference. But anyway, we should drive it really more and find out. I'll bring you back in. All right, so I'm not sure what does this, but when you turn on the gas, turn on the key, and the gas gauge goes up. As soon as I start the engine, it goes to 0. I don't know. I've had another bus that did that. I wonder why it does that. It's so weird. Anyway, it does that. Alright guys, I know there's some headlights on. Here's the real test. I mean, the speedo's kind of doing its thing. How are we going to get up this hill? So I'm going about 35 right now, approaching the hill. Go up in third because everybody's going so slow already. Feels like it'll go all the way up in third. Maybe. Maybe not. This is a lot for this thing to go up. Right here, it kind of levels out and then it goes all the way up. So I'm going about, what's that, 55, 60, 55 kilometers? Can't really look down at it. That's floored. Yeah, taking this thing up to like Kelly Park, going up some of those 7% grades, it would be definitely a second gear, maybe even a first gear. I'm sure. 40 horse would have been first gear for sure. I don't know if I've ever taken this thing up with a 40 horse yet. I don't know if I ever took it up this. I don't think I did. But it sure is slow. 30, probably about 35 I think is all I'm doing. Stays in third. See how hot it is when it gets to the top of this sucker. Anyway, that would be impossible. I think this thing still needs to get a trailer to go on a long trip. There's just no way. Yep, all the way up. Just floored all the way up. I don't know what the grade that is. That's probably only like a 6% too. That's not that bad. All right, we'll try the 130 main jet again. See if that does it any better. Let's give that a shot. See if it's loading up with that. If it's not, then maybe we'll just run that one. We kind of want as rich as possible without making it load up. That's for sure. Seems to load up a little bit. Cut off the gas. It's got a little more juice. Yeah, it's kind of loading up. So the 130 is a little too big. I think the 125 is probably perfect. I'll take another drive with it. And see where that's at. It's just that restricted exhaust and the low compression is probably all it will do. It's the biggest main jet that's going to go in there. Okay, well, change it out and check it out. Alright, so we're in third now. And it wants to get up to the RPMs a little better. Can feel the pedal doing something. Let's try fourth. Yeah, it wants to pull better. Definitely was too rich at 130. I don't think it's too lean here either. Probably just right, I guess. I mean, maybe even 122 and a half, it might run better. So anyway, but it's better if it's a little bit rich, right? Right now we're just looking to keep it nice and cool, not running too hot, and we can make it go freeway speed. You know, that's the most important things right there. Going uphill, I don't know about that. I think this thing's ever going to go uphill. Now, if you notice when it's warmer out, after that pushing behind the needle gets warmed up, it's fine. The speedometer works great. It's just early in the morning, or it hasn't been driven in a while, or whatever. It's horrible. It doesn't work. It's really kind of frustrating. I wish it would work all the time, but I don't know. I've tried all kinds of things, cleaning that, putting lube on it, taking lube all off of it, running it dry. Anything I can get to get that needle to work better. And it's dry right now. I took everything off of it last time, and I used a real fine lubricant on it, and it I don't know, it was just even that's too thick. So I tried penetrating lubricant, all kinds of stuff, different things I've tried, and I haven't got it to work right yet. So I don't know. I don't know, maybe graphite, but I think that's even probably too coarse or something. It won't fit between the two layers. It's just such a real tight tolerance on that thing. I know if I drive it more, it'll probably start working better. But it's kind of a bummer because I'd like to see the speed on work when we're almost stopped right now. I mean, it's finally going down. It's a little behind. So anyway, all right, that's it for that. I don't know, maybe we'll get on the freeway here in a minute and see what it does. I don't know where the traffic's at right now. Figure that out and I'll get back to you. You just need to avoid hills. Well, it's fine, just the normal driving around. You just keep the low RPMs and just, you don't need to rev it up that high at all because it's all at the bottom. That exhaust system, along with everything that's on this thing, it's just designed to just shift it, you know, like 2,500 RPMs or something like that. 3,000 is about where the power ends, I think. So anyway, but yeah, if you just keep it in those RPMs, it just driving around town, it's really nice now compared to what it was. It worked okay. It's the same kind of thing before, but oh geez, on-ramp's closed. Okay, well, so much for that idea. I don't know what we're gonna do. Anyway, but yeah, so it is better as far as all that stuff goes, but it's still, you know, it still doesn't have a lot of power for climbing, but I don't think it ever will. Anyway, so I guess we can go back to the other street and get on there. See all that up there. All right, guys, here's a test. Ramp meter went flashing. Love that. God, why would they? Oh, it's not on. I don't really want that thing on because I need this whole runway to get up to speed. All right, off to the races. Oh, and it just changed. Oh, it turned off. On at 70 or 80. That's not bad. I used to get on at about 60, 55 or something. Now we're going 90 uphill. Cool. Seems like 90 seems kind of slow. I'm barely touching the gas. Oh, this is totally doable. The truck's still passing me, but I mean, uphill even, it'll probably do 90. Just a little bit. Down on the gas and it just wants to go up to 100, but the traffic doesn't want me to. Everybody's looky-looing. Okay, we got one of these little uphills right here, and it's still able to climb. I'm able to climb speed. Well, let me give it a little more gas. Yeah, it'll do 90 on the little 90 kilometers. So 100 is what, 62 or something like that. 95. I'll do 100, no problem. Not over revving at all. Not for this engine, really. It seems fine. Nothing like it was with a 40 horse. I mean, it was white knuckles. I wouldn't even want to film this. Don't have that problem, but doesn't bother me. Stay in the right lane. If there wasn't so much traffic, I could speed up to 100 no problem easily. I'm barely touching the gas. Look at, you can see where my foot is. Just barely touching the gas. Probably gets better gas mileage too. So yeah, maybe I'll take it out to Irwindale. Seems to be fine. Freeway now. Doesn't feel scary at all. But it's like a ship when you're going over these bumps. It's like tipping back and forth. Yikes. But that's fine. Alright, I'll bring you guys back in. We'll get off the phone. It's too much to deal with two hands here. Alright guys, it seems to go down the road pretty good. The gear ratios, remember this has 205, 75, 15 tires on it, so they're pretty tall, and I got the small nut tranny in it. I don't think I could put any taller gears in this thing. It would just eat up horsepower. It wouldn't be able to go down the freeway. So about 60 miles an hour, I think 62, I think 100 is doable in this thing. I think it can run 100 kilometers probably all day long, and it wouldn't be a problem. But much faster than that, I don't think so. I don't think it would be a good idea. So anyway, yeah, I got a couple of oil leaks still. The valve covers are leaking. I think that's really the most of it. There's a little seepage a couple places I need to check, and I'm just gonna forego doing that right now. I'm gonna go ahead and put the miles on it, and then when I change the oil and I do the valve cover gaskets, I may end up, I think it's actually, it might be building up crankcase pressure. I'm not sure. Can't really tell yet. I haven't driven it long enough on the freeway. But I may end up venting the valve covers. I'll put like a little tube in the top of some stock valve covers, weld it in, and then I'll have the tubes going into the engine compartment. Then I'll probably wire them and run them up to the air cleaner or something like that. Just a simple breather system. It doesn't need like a breather box, I don't think. So I don't think that's really necessary for this. And I may end up having to change the road draft tube to have a road draft tube and the tube and another vent tube. They have those style, the one with the road draft tube that goes down, and then the one with the little vent tube that's on there, because this one doesn't have the vent tube, it just has a road draft tube, and that's it. So I think I might have to do that, I don't know, to get that to breathe properly with the 74 counterweighted crank. That's just a lot of, that's a big fan inside the engine case, so it's like a big fan in there building up crankcase pressure, and the piston, you know, larger pistons in stock. So anyway, but yeah, it goes down the road, just on the freeway, it's just, man, way different. It's, you know, you're going close enough to the speed of the other cars, and you're not going to pass anybody in this thing. I'm definitely still a right lane only. Maybe I could definitely, you know, if I had a really slow truck, I could get into the middle lane and pass, but most of the time it's just going to be in the right lane, just cruising along. It just fine as long as you get there. Really, that's all that matters, right? It's a 55 to 65 mile an hour speed. 65 would be probably pushing it. 62 is probably about the fastest. Really, it's probably going to drive, I'd say 100 kilometers. So like 95 kilometers to 100, somewhere in there, maybe 105 would be, you know, possible, but that's about it. It could probably go faster than that, but it's at 110, you're really 110 or 115 or something like that. You're really like way out of the RPM zone. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to do a couple more things to it here, but at least we know it drives on the freeway. I got to fix the four-way flashers. I don't know what happened, but when I stopped driving it, you know, some stuff went dormant, you know, and the speedometer, you notice, it started working. It you know, when it's cold out, really cold, speedometer doesn't work, and then once you get driving it for a while, because it's sitting there spinning, it's like a magnet inside a magnet spinning, and then eventually that it starts to go up. It unsticks and kind of comes up slowly, and then starts to be really kind of sticky, and then finally it starts to work as it starts to work for a while. So I don't know what to do with that. I've taken it apart I don't know how many times, tried fine lubricants, tried penetrating oil, and I've tried just cleaning it out, just dry. That's what I'm doing right now. Just get it as dry and clean as possible, because I think anything takes up there's such a fine tolerance in there, probably, that this thing had so few kilometers on it that it's just so never been used that it's, you know, temperamental because of that. It's just so, the speedometer's only got, you know, what did it have on it? 50,000 kilometers or something crazy like that. I don't know. I can't see it right now. So anyway, wasn't very many kilometers. So it's like, I don't know, 20,000 miles or something like that. It was, so this truck never left the city, never went on a freeway. He never went on a highway, never went on the Autobahn. I'm sure it probably just stayed in the city, went around and fixed lights all day, you know, and that's it. And on top of that, the engine that was in it was an X-Case engine, so it was a factory Volkswagen rebuild. So it probably went through engines like, you know, all the time. So I didn't see what oil pump was in that one. The problem with this, if you guys didn't know, we made a short on it, but the problem with the old engine, remember I couldn't find anything wrong with reason why it lost oil pressure, except for when I just was looking at the oil pump and I went, hey, I wonder what size this thing is, you know. I pulled the gears out because I didn't think anybody'd ever use a 17 anymore. I thought they were just gone. But I pulled apart the oil pump and it was a 17 millimeter, so that was it. Didn't have enough oil supply to build up pressure, and it probably didn't have enough oil pressure to even run the RPMs it was running. I mean, it probably was running like 3,800 RPMs or something like that. So at some point on the freeway every once in a while, because I remember I did 115 in it, and I think after I did 115 in this, that was when it was like, nope. Yeah, after that I think it started to diminish, the engine did, so that was probably what killed it. I was on the way home from Orange County and I was like on a downhill run and I'm like, man, I got it up to 115. Yeah, that was probably more than that oil pump could supply oil to, so that probably killed it. Anyway, well, it's much better now. I'm glad we put the 1800 in it. It's just way better. It drives like a regular Volkswagen. It doesn't, you know, it's still slow. So if you guys are wondering, if you look, some guys are gonna be like, yeah, hey man, I want to put an 1800 in mine. You know, the reason we went 1800 and we didn't go bigger is couple of different reasons. One is the 1800, we had a case with 10 millimeter studs. So you don't have very many dual relief cases with 10 millimeter studs. They usually came with 8s. So this was a 1970 case. So it was like, we didn't want to open it up because then you're really close to the studs. If you go to 9.5, you're really close to studs. So it's kind of like doing a 94. I don't really like to do 94. Some guys think it's great, you know. Talking to a guy the other day, he runs a 2332, loves it. But, you know, I just personally, I don't like to do that. But, you know, a few of us don't. The other thing is when you go larger. So if you're thinking, hey man, you know, if you go too big, your engine, what happens is you run into a problem where you have to have a larger combustion chamber. That's why I'm always saying, get the AA heads or get the CB Performance Panchito heads, because they have a larger combustion chamber. They open that whole thing up. It's the hardest thing to do on a VW is when you get bigger engine, you have to have a larger combustion chamber to keep your compression ratio low. So you're not up in the 9, 10 to 1. You know, when you start getting those numbers, it starts running hot. And something heavy like your bus or something like that, that's where you need to really watch out. So the options are, if you want to go with the 1800, or if you're going to go with the 74 stroker, you know, this thing would run a whole lot better with the dual port. The reason I didn't do that is because I want it to look original. Okay, so if you're putting one in a bus, okay, it would be worth it if you can spend the money on the dual port AA heads or the Panchitos. If you get the Panchitos, they have two different combustion chamber sizes. You have the ones where there's 54, okay, is the standard heads. So you got to kind of look into all this stuff. The standard heads are 54 cc's. You're going to want, if you go to the 1904 or 1968, you're probably going to want the 60 cc combustion. Well, when you add that to the price, when you get them through CB, they're quite a bit more expensive than the AAs. So again, they're better quality. The CB stuff is better. The head, the aluminum is better, and all that stuff. Okay, so if you don't have the money, the AAs work just fine. A lot of guys, I'm running them on mine. I'm super happy with them. The CBs also come with D-porting. You know, they come with a factory D-port that they do. That's a CNC. I think it's just part of the casting. I'm not sure, one of the two. But they come with that too, so that's nice. But if you don't want to spend the money, but you still want the benefits of having a larger combustion chamber, because then you can play around with that. Remember, I was telling you guys when I'm doing these builds, these engine, if you can play with the rod length and move that cylinder around, it gives you a lot of benefits. If you can move the cylinder out further or in further and put more fire in the head, it's going to be more efficient. Like what we did with this, we put copper shims in there, or copper head gaskets in there, and run a really tight deck height, okay, and then put more fire in the head. That's going to give you less detonation. And that's all the things that we're doing with this. But if you wanted more power, you know, if you can have a little more money, the dual port heads definitely, even if you're running the stock carburetor, they're gonna run better. They're gonna have more power. It's gonna have better top end. It's gonna drive a bit better. Okay, so I'm not saying go single port because it's all torque. You'll still have good torque with the dual port heads. But if you go dual port, you're gonna have more. You're gonna have good torque, but you can have really good top end too. So you can get a lot more power out of this engine by going dual port. And still run a single carburetor. You can run a single 2-barrel, single pick 34, and it'll still run. It'll still run nice. I know lots of guys that are running even 2007s with a single port and a pick 30 on them. It's better if you put the little flange on there and go with the 34, though. That's a little thing you can do. We might end up doing that with this. We talked about it. We may end up going to the pick 34, but I don't know. I don't think it's really necessary. I think this thing's just running perfect the way it is. So anyway, we may try that just to see, and maybe we'll put that in a video for you guys to watch to see if the pick 34 really makes a big difference with the stock manifold. It probably will, but how much better? You still have a small intake manifold, bigger carburetor. But there's a Venturi there, so it does, you know, it'll work. Anyway, that's it for this, guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.